Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is now week 5 in the NFL, so we're back with my weekly NFL predictions. If you enjoy the content, make sure you do like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. With that being said, let's get to my week 5 NFL predictions. Alrighty, and as always, we're going to start with the previous week recap. As you can see, not a ton of red. Looks pretty good. So Lions beat the Packers, Jaguars beat the Falcons, Bills beat the Dolphins. That was kind of less exciting than I thought it was going to be. Broncos beat the Bears, Ravens beat the Browns, which I expect the Browns to do a little bit more, but it is what it is. Titans beat the Bengals just not doing too well. Rams beat the Colts in OT, Buccaneers beat the Saints, Eagles beat Commanders in OT, kind of a little bit of a surprising score there. Vikings beat the Panthers, Texans beat the Steelers, which Steelers, man, just didn't show up whatsoever. Chargers beat the Raiders, Cowboys beat the Patriots, just barn burned the hell out of those guys. 49ers beat the Cardinals, Chiefs beat the Jets, and then my Seahawks beat the Giants. Who could have predicted that? That being said, 12-4 on last week's predictions, pretty decent. We are now up to 40-24 on the year, so pretty decent, I would say. And now we are over to my weekly top 5 NFL ranking. So this might shock some people, but Dallas is probably just the 5th best team in my opinion. I think they are still super good defensively, and I think as soon as their offense can catch up, if they can catch up, and if their defense can remain healthy, even without Trevon Diggs, I think this team can definitely make some noise. They got to show up in the playoffs, so we'll see about that. Next is the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills, they look super good. Definitely look better than Miami this past Sunday, but I don't know. I'm still waiting for them to put it all together, and we'll see. We'll see about this team. As for number 3 is the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are just the best AFC team, in my opinion. I think they just find ways to win, even if it's, by 3 to some random ass team. Like they're good and they know how to win. Coming in at number 2 is the Eagles. I wanted to move the Eagles down a little bit, even below the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think Eagles, they do exactly what the Chiefs do. They find ways to win, and they have so many difference makers and playmakers all over the field. I think they're just the second best team. And number 1, it's the Niners. I have nothing else to say about the Niners. I hate them. They are so good, so talented, so everything. The Niners are right number 1. And these are the teams that are on buys this week. It's the Cleveland Browns, I almost said San Diego, the LA Chargers, and the Seattle Seahawks, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So all these teams are on buys, none of them playing this week. And now let's get to Thursday Night Football. The first game we're discussing, the Chicago Bears at the Washington Commanders. So for the Bears, Justin Fields isn't the biggest problem for this team. I am realizing that, and especially this last week, I know he definitely needs to take care of the ball and not make as many mistakes as he made, especially down the stretch, but I don't think he's the biggest problem on this team, and I think he's getting scapegoated quite significantly, so I'm not sure what they're going to do after this season. I think they need to prioritize the run game. Justin Fields was running it all over the field last week, and I think they went away from that in the second half, and that's kind of why the Broncos were able to come back on them. But they need to prioritize the run game. It's what they're good at, and I don't think Justin Fields can necessarily sling it around the entire field for 4 quarters. And I think their defense needs to do something. Their defense is just bad, man. Especially in that second half, they just kept letting up points, kept just not doing anything. It's just very annoying for the Bears, and man, I feel bad for Bears fans. Next, let's talk about the Commanders. I think their run game has to be a factor. They have 2 decent running backs on this team. They need to get the ball out of Sam Howell's hands so he can do more. And it's a little frustrating because a lot of these teams are just making the same exact mistake. But yeah, it is what it is. Defense needs to get off the field. There are too many third downs where they are just not getting off the field. And I noticed that quite significantly when they were playing against the Eagles. So yeah, their defense definitely needs to get off the field. And finally, they're finally getting some production out of their wide receivers. I know I was debating with some people in the comment section on some previous videos about how the Washington Commanders wide receivers are better, but they're just not producing those results. And lately, especially this last game, it looks like they're doing something. So I'm not too optimistic on this game, but I think the Commanders are going to win it. I got Commanders 34, Bears 23. I'll be a little surprised if the Bears score more than 23 points. Next, we are on to the overseas game. It is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Buffalo Bills. So Jacksonville, they're playing 2 international games back to back. That's kind of wild. But for the Jaguars, get Travis Etienne the ball. I think he's the most consistent player on their team so far, because Calvin Ridley, he hasn't really shown up again since week 1. So I'm not really sure if he's going to show up again. And that we'll skip one and say, who is the number 1 wide receiver on this team? I don't know who it is. Is it Christian Kirk? Is it Calvin Ridley? Or is it somebody else? I'm not sure, because they don't have the production of a number 1 wide receiver on this roster yet, and they definitely need it. So Trevor Lawrence needs to find a number 1 wide receiver targets. And as for Trevor Lawrence, just make no mistakes. And I don't mean like, oh, you can never make any mistake ever, but he needs to limit the mistakes he is making. He is turning the ball over way too much, and he is a little too careless with the ball, and he just is throwing the ball, and it's just getting incompleted so often. I just need to see a little bit more from Trevor Lawrence. As for the Bills, I think if they play like they did last week, every week, I think they will be Super Bowl champs. They played an excellent game last week, and I am super impressed with the Bills. If they can get their run game going every week, I think this team is going to be very, very good. I don't think they need Josh Allen to be more than what he's been doing. I think he's just trying to be Superman so often, and there are times where it works. Like last week, it worked. I think Josh Allen very much willed his team to victory, and I think that version of Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback in this league. That being said, I do have the Bills winning this one. I got the Bills 31, Jaguars 27. I'll just be very surprised if the Jaguars can do much against this Bills defense, but definitely got the Bills. Now we are over to the early window of games on Sunday. It is the Houston Texans at the Atlanta Falcons. So I am pleasantly surprised by the Texans. They are playing super well right now. I think CJ Stroud is the best rookie quarterback as of right now. I am super impressed with him. He is just not making any mistakes. I don't think he's thrown an interception yet. We're going to knock on wood. But yeah, he's playing very well. And I think no mistakes from Stroud needs to continue for this team to have long-term success, especially in this division. I think any of these 4 teams can win this division, and I think the Texans might have something to say about that at the end. And they're finally getting something out of the running back room. I was very impressed with, I think the last 2 weeks of the Texans run game has just been significantly better, and that helps CJ Stroud a ton. So they need to keep that up. As for the Falcons, I think there's too much carelessness by Desmond Ridder, and I am not impressed with him whatsoever. He has like moments where you look at him and you say, oh, okay, I see what all these Falcon fans have been preaching to me in the comment section, but I just don't see it often enough, and I need to see it more. So Desmond Ridder, I'm challenging you. Just do a little bit more for the team and be less careless. I think Bijan Robinson needs the ball 100% of the time. Every single time you can get Bijan Robinson the ball, do it, because he is the best player on your roster right now, right next to Cordero Patterson. I'm not sure what is going on with him, but Bijan Robinson, get that man the ball. He is amazing. And I think their defense gets stops, but I don't think their offense can do anything. I don't think this defense is awful. They have a ton of ball hawks, especially in their secondary, but I just don't see their offense being able to do more for this team, unfortunately. And I think that might be because of Desmond Ridder. That being said, I do have the Texans winning this one. I got the Texans 27, Falcons 20. I'm not super confident in this pick, but I think the Texans are the better team as of right now. Our next game is the Carolina Panthers at the Detroit Lions. So for the Panthers, their O-line cannot protect Bryce, and it is super apparent. They need to re-scheme this offense where he's getting the ball out quickly, and they are doing a ton more, I wouldn't say jet sweeps, but like just anything where Bryce Young is not holding onto the ball for an extended period of time, because this offensive line is not helping him at all. And I think they have very little run game, and that does go back to the offensive line as well. I just don't see a lot of bright spots on this offense, and especially besides Adam Thielen, there's no wide receivers showing up every single week, and it's very apparent. So yeah, I feel bad for Bryce Young. I think he's been put into a really crappy situation, and they need to help improve this team so he can have some success. As for the Lions, I think their defensive line will feast this week, especially against the Panthers' poor offensive line. I think the Lions' defense is going to have a really good day, and I think Goff, if he can clean up the picks, I think this offense is going to click quite significantly, especially with I put Davis Montgomery. It's supposed to be David Montgomery, and Jahmyr Gibbs. If you can feed those two guys, I think this team is going to be super good and productive, especially this week. I do have the Lions winning this one. I got the Lions 30, Panthers 17. I'll honestly be surprised if the Panthers score more than 17 points. Our next game is the Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts. So for the Titans, feed King Henry. It's that simple. Even if he's not running significantly for a portion of the game, keep feeding him, because he has the most devastating way of running I have ever seen for the current age of NFL running backs. So if they can get Tannehill to not screw up and keep feeding Derrick Henry, I think this team can be pretty decent. I think their offensive line needs to shore up their protections, though. Ryan Tannehill is getting hit way too much, and that is going to be a problem, especially if they want to try and win this division and make something in the playoffs. As for the Colts, I think they need to find a number one wide receiver, and I don't think anybody on their roster currently is impressing me enough to consider them a number one wide receiver. So I definitely need to see that be a priority at some point for them. Quality production out of running back Zach Moss. I think Zach Moss is been a godsend for this team, especially as soon as he got to play more and is playing better. The offense turned infinitely more simple for Anthony Richardson. I know it wasn't that great this last week, but I still think the run game is going to be great for this team, especially when they get Jonathan Taylor back. I think this team can definitely make some noise. And I think Anthony Richardson, he just needs to lead this team. When they're going down the stretch and they're down a touchdown or down by 3 or something like that, he needs to be the one to kind of take that step up and be the quarterback they need him to be. That being said, I do have the Titans winning this one. I got the Titans 28, Colts 24. I just don't think the Colts will stop King Henry. Our next game is the New York Giants at the Miami Dolphins. So for the Giants, their O-line sucks, man. It sucks. It's not good. I feel bad for Daniel Jones. You know, the Seahawks having 11 sacks against them is just, that's sad, man. That's just really sad. And I don't think it's all of Daniel Jones' fault. He definitely is to blame for part of it, but I think the coaching staff is not doing him any favors. I think the offensive line is awful. I think it's without Saquon, it's kind of all been put on Daniel Jones' shoulders, and I just don't think it's fair, but it is what it is. And like I said, no run game at all. Without Saquon, no run game at all. I think the Seahawks defensive, their run stop, I'm losing my words. Their run protection is pretty decent, though, so that might be part of it, but still, getting nothing from your running backs last week, not a recipe for success for this Giants team. As for the Dolphins, get back to what worked previously. I think they kind of went a little too conservative and they were letting the Bills play their game, and the Dolphins stopped playing what made them successful. And I think if they can get back to that, I think that will be amazing for this team. I think they need a quality run game, they had a quality run game last week, and it definitely needs to continue going forward. If they can get that quality run every single week, especially against these big team or good teams like the Buffalo Bills, I think this team can be extremely successable, especially with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I think this team has infinite potential. Their defense needs to show up. Yeah, I haven't been super impressed with them. Even against the Broncos, were still able to get significant points on the board. I say significant, air quotes, but yeah, they were still able to get points on the board, and then the Bills kind of just were walking through them every single time they had the ball, and it was just, the defense needs to show up for this team, and I think they definitely will this week. I got the Dolphins winning this one. Dolphins 31, Giants 13. I will be genuinely surprised if the Giants score more than 13 points. Our next game is the New Orleans Saints at the New England Patriots. So for the Saints, Derek Carr's health is still in question. I was still looking for any information on if he was going to start or what his status was, and it's still listed as questionable. So we'll see if Derek Carr will be starting this week. I think Alvin Kamara, he needs to figure out how to get back to his old self. He is a significant piece in this offense, and they need him very badly. And I didn't see much from Chris Olave last week. They need to feed this man. Chris Olave, is probably the best player on this team right now. I know Michael Thomas used to be great, but I think he's had too many years off, so I just haven't seen that production from him yet. But feed Chris Olave, man. As for the Patriots, I don't think Mac Jones is the guy. I think last week showed that to you, and the fact that you guys benched him and put Bailey Zappi in kind of showed us all we needed to know. I am not convinced in Mac Jones at all, and I think it's time to move on. I think the run game does not exist. I think they have two decent running backs in Zeke Elliott and I think it's Stevenson is his last name. But they're just not doing anything. And I know Zeke kind of showed up against the Cowboys, but no. They need significantly more out of the run game. And I think they have way too many turnovers. I think Mac Jones is just careless with the ball. Interceptions and even fumbles for this team is just very apparent. This is just not the Patriots team that we saw for a decade. And yeah, I got the Saints winning this one. I'm not overly confident in this game, especially if Derek Carr doesn't play, but I think the Saints can get this done. I got the Saints 24, Patriots 23. If Derek Carr doesn't start, I definitely would lean Patriots in this one. Our next game is the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So for the Ravens, they need a run game ASAP. I know J.K. Dobbins isn't there, but they still have a decent running back. So if they can do that with Lamar Jackson running and sliding, please. We don't need him getting injured. I think this team can definitely get some work done. And I think we finally saw the old Mark Andrews last week. He played significantly well, and it was very apparent that Lamar fed off of that, and it helped this offense quite significantly. So Mark Andrews, he needs to show up every single week. And I think Lamar, if he can continue to not throw the game away or try to do too much and maybe game manage a little bit better, I think this team is going to be really, really scary when the playoffs come. As for the Steelers, is Kenny Pickett the guy? I don't think so, but I think Steeler fans aren't ready to give up yet. I'm kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but I don't think Kenny Pickett's the guy, man. And I feel bad, but yeah, I don't think Kenny Pickett's the guy. And I think quality production out of Najee Harris last week was definitely a surprising sign for me, but I still think they need to see more out of Najee Harris, especially in the run game. He just needs to get loose as often as he can, but yeah, it is what it is. And I don't think any of their wide receivers are coming along for the ride. I know they have George Pickens, and I know they got rid of Chase Claypool, and they don't have... I'm just not impressed with their wide receivers right now. And I need to see more production, especially out of George Pickens. He had a great year last year. Where is he right now? Haven't really seen him. That being said, I do have the Ravens winning this one. Ravens 20, Steelers 17. I expect this to be a defensive slugfest, but I definitely see the Ravens walking away with the dub. Our first late window game is the Philadelphia Eagles at the LA Rams. So for the Eagles, I think they need to get DeAndre Swift involved as much as they can. He is very explosive, and whenever he has the ball in his hands, he is super good. And I think A.J. Brown proved why he is him last week. A.J. Brown was so good last week, and I was super impressed with him. I think he went for, 140 yards, something like that. Man, A.J. Brown is so good, and that is exactly why they traded for him. If they can get him, Devontae Smith, and even Swift to get all three of them involved, oh my God, this team is going to be super good and super hard to stop. I think their defense, if they can get stops, I think this team is going to be excellent. We'll see. I think they will slowly start to return into the team that they were at the end of last year, but we need to see it sooner rather than later. As for the Rams, I think their defense has no identity right now. I don't think their secondary is super impressive, but I think their defensive line is significantly good, but I don't know. I don't see an identity with this team. They're not ball hawks. They're not, Saxonville or any of those teams. So I just don't see an identity with this defense at the moment. I think if they keep feeding Puka Nacua, I think this team is going to be super good, especially when Cooper Kupp comes back. This team's going to be pretty scary offensively as long as Matt Stafford can stop turning the ball over. That is their biggest issue, and if he can stop that, I think this team might do some stuff. And this is where I do my controversial pick. I think the Rams are going to end the Eagles' undefeated record as of right now. The only reason I say this is because the Rams show up for games like this. I think this is a trap game for the Eagles because I think the Eagles will be overlooking the Rams a little bit. And I just don't think the Eagles have impressed me in a lot of their wins this year because they just haven't looked super impressive. But I got the Rams 27, Eagles 24. I'm not super confident in this, but I think the Rams can do it. Our next game is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Arizona Cardinals. So for the Bengals, I think they need to bench Joe Burrow until he is 100% healthy. I think he looks injured, and I don't understand why he's still playing significant minutes in all of these games. It's just, especially when they were down last week, it's just sad, man. It's just sad. I don't know what they're doing. And I don't think a recipe for success for this team is throwing it 30 to 35, 40 times every single game. And I know Joe Burrow is really good and everybody thinks he's going to be the next Tom Brady, but he needs a run game. He needs an offensive line. He needs a defense to get him the ball back. It's just, and I think their defense is good, but it's just, I don't think throwing the ball as much as they have been is a recipe for success. And I know they've been down, so they think they have to abandon the run game, but I think if they slowed the game down and just run the ball, I think this team can still be as good as they have been. As for the Cardinals, I think Dobbs is playing better than anybody could have expected, and I'm super happy for him. It's really awesome to see a backup quarterback being productive like this. I think if they can get a run game, I think it'll help him quite significantly. I think I said this last week as well, but yeah, James Conner, he's played better, but definitely need to see more. And I know the Niners, they're also those plays were on my end. I know the Niners are just really good defensively, so that might be why, but still, if they can get a run game, I think this team will be very good, and I think their pass rush just needs to get to the quarterback more. And I know this probably goes back to, I think the Niners are just a level ahead, maybe 2 levels ahead of the Cardinals, but if they can get the pass rush to the quarterback, I think this team is going to be very good. Ooh, I do have the Cardinals winning this one. I got Cardinals 27, Bengals 23. I am not impressed with the Bengals right now. Those planes are really loud, sorry. I'm not impressed with the Bengals at all right now, and I need to see significantly more from them. Our next game is the New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. Talk about 2 franchises that just weren't expecting to be where they are right now. So for the Jets, feed Breece Hall. I saw a report that they said they will stop limiting Breece Hall starting this week. So I expect Breece Hall to have one of his best games ever. So Breece Hall, it's your week, my guy. I think the best Zach Wilson game I think I've ever seen was last week. He played significantly better than I expected him to against that Chiefs defense. So I don't know. I think Zach Wilson, do I think he's the answer? No. But I don't think he's as bad as people have been saying he has been, so I don't know. I think we need to see more from Zach Wilson, but I just don't know if he's capable of that. I think their defense needs to force turnovers. They have like Sauce Gardner. They have these playmakers on defense, and I just don't think they're turning the ball over enough for this defense to be considered elite. As for the Broncos, I think Russell Wilson is not the problem anymore. I think Russell Wilson is playing he's playing well enough for them to be able to win games, and I just don't think this defense gets enough stops, and especially with the release of Randy Gregory, I just don't expect this defense to be good at all, especially going forward, which is sad because they have like Pat Surtain and just other players on this defense that are supposed to be really good, but just not getting the production out of them. Planes are on my end again, sorry. But I do have the Broncos winning this one just because unfortunately I can't trust Zach Wilson, but I got the Broncos 24, Jets 23. This one could go either way for sure. Our next game is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Minnesota Vikings. So for the Chiefs, uncharacteristic mistakes out of Mahomes, especially lately. He's turning the ball over quite significantly, and just a few of his throws have just been really weird. And I'm not saying I'm worried about Mahomes. He's still him, probably the best quarterback in the league currently, but I don't know. I'm a little worried. It's weird. It's just weird. All right, that's what we'll say. I think Pacheco is getting better every single week. He is definitely running back number one for this team, and he is playing super well. I think if they can rely on him even more, I think this team can definitely shore up and cover up a lot of those holes that they have in the pass game, because I think they need another weapon in the pass game, and I just don't see any of the wide receivers they currently have doing anything significant. They're just not playing well, the wide receivers, except for Kelsey. So as for the Vikings, I think they played like trash last week, but they won anyway. So tip your hat to that, I guess. But they definitely need to clean up a lot of their mistakes, especially their turnovers. Kirk Cousins. I was saying Christian Kirk for some reason. But Kirk Cousins, if you can shore up a lot of those turnovers, I think this team can be very good. I think Madison, he is continuing to run very well. I am surprisingly... I'm very surprised by Alexander Madison. He's doing enough to be productive and making sure that the run game is still being established, and it's been very impressive. I think they need to continue to feed Justin Jefferson. He is literally the best player on your team. Find ways to get this man the ball, and he will score touchdowns. I got the Chiefs winning this one. I don't think this one's going to be very close. Well, I expect the score to be a little close, but I don't expect the game to be close at all. I think the Chiefs will have this in the bag. I got the Chiefs 34, Vikings 24. Don't expect the Vikings to win this at all. Now we are on to Sunday Night Football, the game of the week. The Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. So for the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys, they show up against real teams, in my opinion. I think they really are, especially in the regular season, they show up against real teams, and I expect that for them this week. I think Tony Pollard, he has to have a productive week this week, and I know the 49ers defensive line is going to want to light him up and keep him under wraps as much as they can, but I think Tony Pollard is a key to success for this team quite significantly. I think the defense for the Cowboys needs to disrupt Purdy. They need to get sacks. They need to turn the ball over. I think Purdy he makes mistakes, but nobody capitalizes on it, and that will lead right over to my 49ers takes. I think Purdy makes mistakes, but nobody cashes in on them, and I think the Cowboys are the first team that it might be able to do something about Purdy and the things he does. So we'll see. I think the 49ers are incredibly healthy right now. I know Debo is a little banged up, but I don't think he's not going to play, especially with Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey having an MVP type season. Yeah, I think this team is incredibly healthy, and they have so much skill at every position. It's so fucking annoying, dude. Niners just piss me off. That being said, this might be a little biased. It's not biased. I got the Niners winning this one, unfortunately. I think the Cowboys can win this game. I don't see anybody stopping the 49ers until they... Anyway, I got the Niners winning this one. Niners 27, Cowboys 24. Yeah, unfortunately, the Niners are probably going to win this game. Now we are over to our last game of the week. It is Monday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers at the Las Vegas Raiders. So for the Packers, Jordan Love needs to take care of the ball, man. He is turning the ball over way too much and just throwing the most just weird passes I've ever seen. I'm not sure if he's the guy, but when he does shit like that, I don't think he is the guy. I think they have no run game whatsoever. I think Aaron Jones was their leading rusher last week, and he had, I think it was 8 yards, if I was looking at it correctly. That is not good, especially for a quarterback, which I would say Jordan Love is essentially a rookie this year, just because it is his first year officially starting the whole thing. But I don't know. Without a run game, I don't expect this team to have prolonged success, and I think they're unhealthy as hell right now. I think David Bakhtiari, I'm not sure if they said he will return this week, but he is injured. They just have a ton of injuries on this team, and yeah, it's really sucks. As for the Raiders, Jimmy G's status is still questionable. I'm not sure if he is going to start this week, but if he does, I think that gives them a little better of a shot to win this game. I think they need to run the damn ball like they did last year. I think Josh Jacobs is not playing at anywhere close to what he was playing last year. I think he had a career year last year, and he's not playing like it at all, and they need that production out of Josh Jacobs ASAP. And man, how do they have Devontae Adams and they not prioritize this man? Get him the ball in every single scenario, in every single situation. Like I said with like people like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, find ways to get these guys the ball. They are significantly better than any player you have on your roster. Get them the ball, and you'll see success. I do have the Packers winning this one, though. I got the Packers 31, Raiders 27. I'm not impressed with the Raiders, and I need to see something else. And that will do it for my Week 5 NFL predictions. What did you think? Did I crap on your team? Did I not crap on your team? I probably crapped on your team, especially if you're a Niner fan. Just hate them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you guys next week with my Week 6 NFL predictions on Thursday. Thank you guys so much for watching.